Hey everyone, welcome to our live broadcast tonight. My name's Erica and this is my husband Brian, and we are the Bakers, and we're here today to have a special guest with us. And if you don't know us or are familiar with us, we help couples who need a little help in their relationship, and we teach and coach primarily basically all from what we've been through and the tough stuff we've been through to help other people. So, Brian, you want to take it away?
So here tonight with us is our good friend Joe Woodruff, and he is a lot of the reason that we are doing this, a lot of the reason that we are who we are. Mm-hmm. I think that we shared last week that he is probably the greatest thing to ever happen to us, just because from the
short of Jesus, right?
The greatest person to ever happen to us. So from the time that we met 2 years ago in March, I think it was, mm-hmm. He has completely transformed our lives and helped us to understand who we are better and what our marriage looks like and what it is capable of looking like. Mm-hmm. So we are relationship coaches. He is our relationship coach. Mm-hmm. And
one of them.
Yeah. And it's great to have him with us here today.
Yeah.
Well, what would you do if you saw an old man crying in the store? This is the situation faced by a woman who tells the story of how she tried to make a quick grocery run in a late afternoon of a day that started horribly. So she left the house in a disagreement with her husband, was delayed throughout the day, had to be in two places at once for her kids, was just trying to go pick them up to deliver them where they needed to be next, rushed into the store, grabbed the cart, was furiously going down the aisles, putting things into the cart, when she went down an aisle and had to stop because there was an old man in the aisle, and he was reaching up and grabbing a bar of soap and bringing it to his nose and then putting it back and reaching up and grabbing another bar and putting it to his nose, putting it back. She couldn't get around him, which meant to get where she wanted to go, she'd have to go all the way down and around. So she was waiting impatiently, hoping he would just hurry up, when she finally noticed that there was a tear coming down his eye, and he had an old, weathered, wrinkled face, so it was like traveling through a channel of his face. So she just took a deep breath and walked around her cart and said, "Sir, is there anything I can do for you?" And he looked at her and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dear. I didn't mean to be in your way. I'm just trying to find my wife's soap." She said, "Well, do you know what brand it is? Maybe I can help you find it." He said, "Oh, no, I don't know what it's called at all." She said, "Well, I have a phone. Would you like to give her a call and find out?" And he looked at her, and his eyes were even more red. He said, "Oh dear, my wife died months ago. I just want to smell her again." This woman says the argument with her husband, the delay in her day, the frantic schedule with her children, all just came into perspective in that moment when she realized what was most important. The poet said that there are three things that were too wonderful for him and four that were beyond comprehension, couldn't possibly explain it. One of which is the way of a man with a woman. Too amazing for him, he said. And yet a few verses later in his stanza, he writes, there are three things under which the earth trembles. I mean, picture the earth holding up a weight, and it's trembling and shaking, and four things under which it collapses. One of which is an unloved woman who is married. And so he gives us the contrast of how amazing it can be when a man and woman are in love, and how tragic it is when a marriage is simply going through the motions. Have you ever felt like you've been in a relationship where you're just going through the motion? All of a sudden it is maintenance mode, You're just trying to survive. You're in a rut, and a rut is simply a grave without the dirt on top. Well, we've discovered in years of working with all kinds of relationships, the romantic relationships, parental relationships, friendships, working relationships, that there are three dynamics that solidify a relationship and cause it to be amazing. Like unable to describe. It's just that great. I've outlined them in a book called I'm on Your Side, Scoot Over, which will be available soon through bakers.tv in the resource section. I'm on Your Side, Scoot Over. But let me give you those three tonight. So the first one is affirmation, which is how you communicate to your partner that you love them for who they are, what they already bring to the table, what you love about them that sets them apart, what makes them beautiful or distinctive. Affirmation, of course, comes into how we communicate, comes into what we say or do not say, comes into how we choose to show affection, comes into our sexual intimacy, how you love your partner for who they are. The second piece is acceptance. And so in acceptance, we love a person as they are, which means, first of all, some of their quirks. You guys have quirks?
Never.
I don't.
Okay, I want you to think of Brian's most obvious quirk and tell me in just a few moments, but I'll go first. So I'm like the guy who has to go to the same restaurant and order the same dish, sitting in the same place every time. I'm a little obsessive. And earlier tonight when I was just relaxing here in their home, I noticed I was pointing my foot and playing photography with it. I cover up this part and cover up that part, which I do all the time. And I thought, gee, I hope Brian doesn't see me. I wonder, what am I doing? Squinting with my eyes and moving with my foot. It's quirky, right? It's just quirky. So what's his major quirk? Come on, I want a confession.
Just one?
I want Brian's quirk.
So it's actually similar to yours. He like traces everything with his thumb.
Yes.
Or my toes.
Or his, yeah.
No.
Anything he can trace with, he'll trace it. And like, he's paying attention to that. And I'm like, hey, over here. Like, he'll get so absorbed in it sometimes. And sometimes he'll be doing it and he doesn't even know.
I am not alone.
We actually Googled this. We actually Googled it. And like, other people have this.
Oh, I'm so grateful. Because the thing about quirks, when you can accept a quirk like this, and that's a major quirk, I mean, serious quirk, right? When you can accept a quirk, then Brian realizes that maybe he can now reveal a few things that are a little more deeper than quirks, knowing that Erica is going to love him as he is. So that's where some of our fear comes into play. So we all have them, right? So one of the things we learned from Genesis chapter 3 is that fear, rooted in shame, causes separation. So just to recall, Adam kind of blew it. And so he hid and said to God, I hid because I was afraid, because I was naked, and therefore felt shame. So fear, rooted in shame, causes separation. It's the number one problem of any relationship. We all have this, these lies that we believe about our worth and our belonging and our competence. That's what shame is. And so because of it, we have certain fears that what I am ashamed of will soon be exposed. So one of my points of shame is you love me as long as I'm useful to you, but once you find out the real me, you'll reject me. So because that's a point of shame, I believe I'm going to be rejected. I have certain fears, one of which is you're going to find out things you can no longer handle. So now I start to hide those from you. Well, there's certain behaviors there. So some of those behaviors might be trying to intimidate a person or trying to impress a person, or always shifting blame onto things. So it's not me. It's not my fault. And so that plays out time and time and time again in a relationship. So acceptance says, look, we're going to drill down to the core of who you are, and we're going to work our relationship in a place where we can confront these fears and try to get the truth of who you are and really mitigate these kind of behaviors. So acceptance, I love you as you, I love you that you do this and this.
I'm trying really hard not to do it on video now because everybody's going to be watching my thoughts.
Yeah.